This isn't just any information, and it really annoys me that I have to bring up El Chiringuito on this channel. But what Pedrerol said yesterday on the show about Vinicius and Mbappé is very serious. And I think there's a lot to unpack there, and there's a good chance that it's true. Who do I think is leaking that so it gets out? And we're also going to talk about Ramón greeting Enrique Riquelme and how they're bashing Ramón for it today. It's incredible. The society we live in, honestly, it's disgusting. You can't do anything anymore. Anyway, let's talk about it too. All right, let's get started. Well, welcome, Madridistas. Before we get to Pedrerol, about Mbappé and Vinicius, and about Ramón, here with Enrique Riquelme. At yesterday's event, a brief reminder of the video we've had posted since then. I'm remembering that pinned tweet. I can't remember who had it. Pinned tweet, the one I have posted here, as someone said. It's just that I remembered, it just crossed my mind, sorry. Well, the video we posted last night about what happened. Well, it happened, of course. Nothing is a coincidence, of course, right? Nothing is a coincidence. Neither Pedrerol's information about Mbappé and Vinicius, nor so many other things. And above all, this is not a coincidence. The fact that Mundo Deportivo through Ramón Fuentes, and I'm actually surprised by Ramón Fuentes that he hasn't corrected it, and that Mundo Deportivo keeps saying it's a new report. The thing about the tax agency from last night, from yesterday, this is all explained in the previous video. Remember, Galan looks at the documents on this Negrera page. He gets them from there, posts them, and someone else turns them into a news story. And they say that the report from the tax agency, which is from 2022, is a new report in which the tax agency draws its conclusions. That Barca didn't pay to bribe Enrique Negrera to bribe referees. Let's see, but that's just the early stage of all this, when we're already at a very advanced stage in the case. And nothing is explained, nothing is put into context, nothing is explained. There are people here who follow the COPE network who might not listen to or read anything else, and they say, well, then it must be true, of course. And they still haven't deleted the tweet. The tweet is still here, the tweet is still up. It's unbelievable. And you go from the tweet, you go to this information, and you put this, a new report from the tax agency. A new report, but you just have to look at the date. Well, man, they still haven't deleted it. This is a disgrace. It's an outrageous media scandal. Because, damn, they're already showing you, man, that they're lying. But look, the newspaper did delete it. And I don't know if anyone... Look, I saw a tweet from Mark Rosas, sharing, well, reposting Miguel Galan. And I say, I can't believe it. You know, when you're on your Twitter timeline and you see Mark Rosas, and I used to follow each other a while ago because we knew each other personally and all that. But then after a series of names, he called me. I said, hey, look, man, I'm done with you. Tomorrow, if I see him, I'll say hi and all that. But anyway, well, you already know how he thinks about a lot of things, right? And we were in total disagreement, but well, more or less personally, since I met him and I liked him, that's it. You always have to know how to separate the person from the persona in direct personal dealings or in other situations, right? That's how I always go through life, unless later on you just say, look, that's enough. But anyway, the thing is that I see him, and then Mario writes, and now what are they going to complain about? About I don't know what, giving credibility to that, right? I say, I can't believe it because he's not that dumb, damn it. So I go into the tweet and it said, there's nothing to see here anymore. Because even he had realized it, and even he had the decency to say, well, if I leave this up, damn, it's just that it's about deceiving people, right? And he went and deleted it, and he deleted it. And like I said, AS Newspaper and a few others, right? Hey, COPE still has it here on their website, man, and they still have the tweet up. It's incredible. It's unbelievable. Well, anyway, everything is explained. Like I said in the previous video, I'm going to put it at the end of this video so you can take a look at it. All right, let's start with the thing about Pedrerol first, and why I think this information is not a coincidence. There's a Game of Thrones going on in the Real Madrid locker room that's unbearable, and honestly, I think after this, only one can stay there. One of the two has to go. I'm not sure if one of them is setting up an excuse to say they have to leave and can't renew. That the other one, that Mbappé, has pushed back a lot and wanted it to be known. I don't think Pedrerol, with everything he's going to say now, I don't think he got it from Mbappe's camp. I think he got it from somewhere else. And guess which side? Well, an even more important one, right? Which is the club. But that's because Mbappe has already made a move to make it clear to the club, meaning Florentino Perez, what he's going through, what in his opinion was happening in the Real Madrid locker room, and to justify himself. Even if Mbappe might be right about some things, there are issues that can't be justified. No, it's that others left too. No, sorry, you can't do what you did with those little mini vacations. You can't do that, man. You just can't do that. You can't go out and attack your coach, no matter how right you are. You just can't. And here, you already know what my stance has been. Hey, Vinicius was wrong with Xabi Alonso. The truth is, I always look at one person's attitude and the others. No, even though we may see Vinicius as emotional and impulsive, perhaps he considers things more than we realize, or maybe others do the thinking for him. This isn't meant to be pejorative toward Vinicius. I mean that when someone is who they are, a big star and all, and you have people around you, there are a lot of people scheming there sometimes. Maybe Vinicius is noble and has a good heart and wouldn't want to do certain things that people around him are convincing him to do. Careful. But anyway, Vinicius was wrong with Xabi Alonso, yes. Mbappe has also been wrong with Arbeloa. Even if one is more right than the other, your actions also define you. I mean, I can be completely right, and tomorrow I go and let someone know, but if I do it the wrong way, then I'm making a mistake in how I do it, and so on. You haven't lost your point, but you're mistaken about something else. You're right, but here you're wrong. I think that's what Mbappe did. Well, anyway, Pedrerol's information, and I'm going to have to make this really small and all that, but the important thing is to listen to him, okay? He gave that yesterday on what's it called? On El Chiringuito. Well, it's this.
Let's see if it appears, since it's on social media.
One moment. I hope this is working now.
The Mbappe story. Oh, this interests me. The other day, they told me a bit about why Mbappe was upset, and it's not that we were surprised by Mbappe's anger, but his outburst did get our attention. It was News Thursday when we did a special with Mbappe and Arbeloa. Arbeloa told Mbappe that if he had played better in the second half, things would have improved for them since they missed his goals. But, well, Mbappe is in the news for a lot of reasons, also for whether he goes out to dinner, if he goes out. It's true that he's on social media. In the news for negative reasons, for off-field stuff, right? And Mbappe thinks that, which
is absolutely normal. They're going to follow you wherever you go. You also have to take that into account with Mbappe.
There's interest from the locker room and from someone inside the locker room in leaking whether he goes out to dinner, if he goes out for a drink. There's interest in portraying Mbappe as not very committed to Real Madrid.
Be careful. Some in the locker room want to leak information and portray Mbappe as not very committed to Real Madrid. He's going to come to the conclusion that it's Vinicius. We know, and I know perfectly well, you're going to mention it in the comments, what this show has done against Vinicius since day one. Since day one, with a very regrettable episode in September 2022 that was reported by Iñaki Angulo and also in Brazil. And here we've always given credibility to what happened. No need to tell me what this show does. I already know and have reported it many times. No one can accuse me of bias on that. All right? But be careful with what you're going to say.
Mbappe, it's true that the other day he spoke out. He was really angry. He sent messages like, I come out here and say things to your face, others don't.
I thought he could be saying that about Bellingham. I mean, no, it didn't occur to me. Because also, as far as we've seen, Mbappe and Vinicius have, at least for the cameras, gotten along well. But now I'm starting to think that it's all been kind of the same. At first, no, but later it was a bit of an act, and things are really bad.
This too, he says, goals are what's important. That's the message Florentino Perez gave the day before in his La Sexta interview, saying that whatever Mbappe's like, he scores more goals than others. It was an obvious message.
Which we didn't comment on here and which was quite significant. And for Florentino Perez to say it is very important. And he also said he's the best footballer we have.
I'm not sure if he's committed, but he scores more goals than the other guy, right? And since the feeling is that the two can't be together, Vinicius and Mbappe, it seems like, or at least Mbappe's camp thinks, that Vinicius' side wants to make Mbappe look like the bad guy. In that competition, Vinicius wants to beat Mbappe. That's why the relationship, especially between Vinicius and Mbappe, isn't great. It could be, yes, but there's that competition of if only one of them can play, who's going to stay, right? So I think Mbappe feels a bit alone in the locker room. He hasn't done any lobbying. He hasn't formed a group. He goes to training, trains, goes to the locker room, gets his stuff, and then leaves. It's true that Mbappé feels, that the one who got rid of Xavi Alonso was Vinicius. Not so much because of the look on his face, but because of what he said. I'm leaving here. The I'm leaving here for many in the locker room meant either he goes or I go. And he wants to put the club in a dilemma, making them choose between Xavi Alonso and Vinicius. And Mbappé and more people, because I've been told that Mbappé or Mbappe's circle thinks that Vinicius was the one who somehow pushed Xavi Alonso out. And that the team got worse, that Arbeloa was a worse coach than Xavi Alonso. That's what Vinicius thinks. That's what Mbappé and more people think.
This is really serious. It's very serious. Look, a few things. That Mbappé thinks that, I don't know if Vinicius was the one who got Xavi Alonso fired, but he did contribute to the club having a certain image of Xavi. Or a predisposition, like watch out for Xavi, watch out for this coach. He wants to mess with one of our stars and all that. Well, we already know everything that happened. Above all, because the club didn't give the coach the power he needed. And that's where it all started. I don't know to what extent Vinicius, I don't know. For example, maybe it's just that Mbappé, or maybe Mbappé thinks that Vinicius did that because maybe he projects onto Vinicius what he himself would have done. I mean, because Mbappé is strategic about those things and Vinicius maybe not so much. And he imagines what he himself would have done and he attributes it to Vinicius. Is there some truth to that? Of course. But then the way you behave, that's no justification at all. I'm talking about Mbappé now. There's no justification at all. But what has that caused? Well, it has made Kylian feel like, look, there are a lot of this guy's friends here. I'm not trying to build alliances in the locker room because you can see that Mbappé is a guy who just comes, trains, and leaves. Well, yes, he has his friends there. He jokes around and all that, but he doesn't really build team spirit, which, well, has two sides to it. One is that you go to your job, you score a lot of goals and all that, which I think is what he's thinking. Like, hey, I'm already doing a lot for the team and all that. And I also know a bit about that, about work groups. Well, there's the one who stays at the end to have a beer with the rest, the one who goes home because he has his wife and his child and prefers to be at home and is more of a family man and all that. And I'm just going to work. So why should my coworker be my best friend, right? There's a side to it where it doesn't affect you or your work, or at least it shouldn't, because you're a professional and as long as you do your job, it's fine. But there's another side, and that's that you start losing your coworkers. I mean, in a way, and then if something happens, they're going to point at you or you're going to lack support. And that, I know what that is. I know what that is. And Mbappé, well, maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what he feels. And now he's getting upset and acting out because this information, in my opinion, is coming from the club. For me, it's coming from Florentino. Why not? If Pedrerol knows it and is communicating it, I mean, come on, there's always been that direct line, whether it's Florentino Pedrerol or Florentino Ferreras Pedrerol. Sorry, but that's how it is. And therefore, there's some maneuvering inside the club, maybe to, well, clean up the image of their player, of Mbappé, for two reasons. One, because maybe they think it's necessary and fair, but Mbappé and Vinicius have to coexist and play together. They aren't considering Vinicius leaving because they want him to renew his contract and resolve everything. Or maybe to put Mbappé above and start justifying that in a short period of time, Vinicius hasn't renewed his contract and will have to be sold. It could be one of two things, but there is definitely a push within the club to defend Mbappé. Come on, to me, it's obvious. Let me know in the comments what you think, but I think it's clear where the information is coming from. But anyway, as we already know, the way I see it, I think both of them were wrong, and neither of the things they did is justifiable. But also at this point, when Mbappé thinks Vinicius is trying to make him look like the Frenchman is not very committed to the team, and so on. What I understand from this is that these two guys can't coexist there. They just don't get along on the field. Sorry, but they don't understand each other. They can't play together. We've already seen it. We've tried it for 2 years, guys. It's impossible. One of them takes up the other's space in the area. There's no understanding. There's no chemistry. No, there isn't. And then on top of that, personally, it's gotten worse, and things are just like that now. I think one of them should leave. I really think one of them should go. But anyway, let me know in the comments what you think. And now, the second topic, this is about what happened yesterday with Ramón and Enrique Riquelme. Look, it was this event they had at Clínica Menorca in Pozuelo, I think, and this was the moment when Ramón met Enrique Riquelme, one person meeting another. How are you, Ramón? How are you? How are you? I follow you. How are you? How are you? How's everything? Good, good. Now just waiting. How's everything? Good, thanks. When they ask, you never know what to say, right? So you go there, well, good, good. Let's see, because just saying good sounds a bit dry, right? So you add something else, right? So Ramon, the man, says, well, of course, it's like everything. It's like, well, look, good. Just waiting to see what happens, he says, right? By the way, Enrique Riquelme says to Ramon, he says, I follow you, I follow you. Well, it's amazing how today this account, what's this account called? A guy who says, keep it up, then the whining starts, some Tony, the infiltrator. And they're giving Ramon a hard time because of this, man. It's amazing. I said on my Twitter, look, he posted a tweet, come to Pampa, analyzing the situation here and freaking out, right? He says, they're giving Ramon a hard time for greeting Riquelme. Whether he supported him or not, he'd have every right to do so. Because we're Real Madrid, not Florentino Perez FC. There are people who, because we're Madrid, not Florentino Perez FC. There are people here who just ignore that. And I think Ramon, besides, is with Florentino Perez. In fact, Ramon later posted a tweet saying, let's see, my track record is what it is. Yesterday, I met Enrique Riquelme, and as a Real Madrid reporter, I'm mainly interested in whether there will be elections at my club. I'll let others focus on strange theories. The thing is, Ramon is with Florentino. He's always been with Florentino. He even wrote a book about him. Ramon Alvarez de Mon is with Florentino. So for people to start doubting Ramon now, that's why I say if people start doubting Ramon now, but besides, it's not about doubting. I mean, to link him with Riquelme or to think that he's campaigning for Riquelme with Ramon, who's with Florentino Perez, who has always been with him, who wrote a book about him, just imagine what people will think about the rest. Imagine, I've lost subscribers and been insulted, so think how it is for others. Therefore, nowadays, whatever you do, whatever you think, whatever you say, they're always going to criticize you. They're always going to target you, always. And what you have to do, man, is, I think, not explain yourself. You have to stop explaining yourself. That's it, because we live in a world that's extremely polarized. They're going to criticize you no matter what, no matter what. If you don't explain yourself, I think that's better. The reason and truth no longer matter. What difference does it make if Ramon posts photos with Florentino? People will criticize him anyway. That's how sad everything is. So, well, look, sorry. I'm just realizing now that I had the logo here. Excuse me. And for quite a while too, I'm sorry. No matter what I do, they're going to say that this guy pays me or that the other guy pays me. Poof. So what does it matter? So just do whatever you want and let them say whatever they want, because you can't avoid it in the world we live in. See you later. Thanks for being there. Have a great day. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel. And that's it. See you in a bit. Bye.